So dear learners, as you see in the slide, Gerard is a young man, and this is Gerard's sign. He's doing packing, and suddenly a man enters who resembles him. And he is holding a revolver in his hand. So let us find out what he wants from Gerard. As you see in the slide, the scene is a small cottage interior there is an entrance right at the back side, right side, which may be curtained. Maybe an emergency entrance. Another door to the left must be a practical door. The furniture is simple, consisting of a small table towards the left, a chair or two, and a divan rather upstage on the right. On the table, there's a telephone. When the curtain rises, Gerard is standing by the table, phoning. He's a medium height, as you see in the slide. He's a medium height guy and wears a horn-rimmed glasses. He is dressed in a lounge suit and a great coat. His voice is very cultured. Then let's see what happens further. Gerard, he puts down the phone and goes to the divan on the right, where there is a travelling bag, and starts packing. Whilst he thus is engaged, another man, similar in build to Gerard, enters the right door. Whereas Gerard is packing, he is a flashily dressed in an overcoat and a soft hat. He bumps accidentally against the table, and at the sound, Gerard turns quickly. So I'm going to narrate the scene to you. Gerard is a good person, but intruder, as you see in green, is the bad person because he entered the house in the intentions of doing a crime. So let's begin. Gerard says pleasantly, Why this is a surprise, Mr. Because he doesn't know the name. So intruder says, I am glad you are pleased to see me. I don't think you'll be pleased for long. So he says, put those paws up. Chirag says, this is all very melodramatic, not very original. Perhaps, but... And in between, intruder interrupts and says, trying to be calm and Chirag says, nonchalant is your word, I think. Intruder says, thanks a lot. You'll soon stop being smart. I will make you crawl. I want to know few things. See. Chirag says, anything you like. I know all the answers. But before we begin, I should like to change my position. You may be comfortable, but I am not. Intruder says, sit down there and no funny business. Motions to the chair and sits himself on the divan by the back. Now then, we'll have a nice little talk about yourself. Chirag says, at last a sympathetic audience. I'm going to tell you my life story. How, as a child, I was stolen by the gypsies. And why, at the age of 32, I find myself in my lonely XX cottage. How? Intruder interrupts and says, keep it to yourself. And just answer my questions. You live here alone? Well, do you? So Chirag says, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me and not asking me. A question of inflection with your voice unfamiliar. Intruder says, do you live here alone? Chirag says, and if I don't answer? Intruder says, you have got enough sense that you don't want to get hurt. Chirag says, I think good sense is shown more in the ability to avoid pain than in mere desire to do so. What do you think? Mr. Intruder says, never mind my name. I like yours better. Mr. Gerard, what is your Christian name? Gerard says, Vincent Charles. In the next scene, we will understand that what brings the intruder to Gerard's house: chance, fate, or a planned move. Let's find out. Intruder says, do you run a car? Gerard says no. Intruder says, that's a lie. You are not dealing with a fool. I am as smart as you and smarter than you. I know you run a car. Better be careful, wise guy. Listen, this gun is no toy. I can hurt you without killing you and get my answers. Gerard says, of course. If you put it like that, I'll be glad to assist you. I do possess a car and it is in the garage round the corner. Intruder says, that's better. Do people often come out here? Gerard says, very rarely. Surprisingly, few people take the trouble to visit. That's that baker and the greengrocer, of course, and then there's a milkman. Intruder says, I happen to know that you never see trade people. Gerard says, you seem to have taken considerable amount of trouble. Once you know won't you say something about yourself? You have been so modest. Intruder says, I could tell you plenty. You think you're smart? But I'm smarter than you. I've got brains and I use them. That's how I have got where I have. Chirag says, and where precisely have you got? It didn't require a great brain to break into my little cottage. The intruder says, when you know why I have broken into your little cottage, you'll be surprised, and it won't be a pleasant surprise. Chirag says, why are you figuring out so largely? Understandable, but what is your particular line of crime? What what are you specialist in? Or aren't you a specialist? Intruder says, my specialist is jewels robbery. Your car will do me a treat. It's certainly a dandy car. Chirag says, I am afraid jewels are few and far in between this part of England. Intruder says, so are the cops. I can retire here nicely for a little while. Chirag says, you mean to live with me? A little sudden, isn't it? You have not been invited. Intruder says, you won't be here for so long, so I didn't trouble to ask. Chirag says, what do you mean? Intruder says, this is your big surprise. I'm going to kill you. Chirag says, a little harsh, isn't it? Intruder says, with a very heavy sarcasm, yeah, I'll be sorry to do that. I've taken a fancy to you, but it's just got to be done. Chirag says, why add a murder to your other crimes? It's a grave step you are taking. Intruder says, I'm not taking it for fun. I have been hunted I am wanted for murder already. And they can't hang me twice. Thank you.